Hi, it's Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Thursday, March 20th, 2008, and this is episode 17 of our weekly Campaign 2008 Roundup. The big news of the last couple weeks, of course, has been the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. This is Barack Obama's former pastor, and a series of incendiary sermons that he gave that have shown up on YouTube. And that comes after a couple weeks where Hillary Clinton was hitting Obama on this question of whether he's prepared to be commander-in-chief. So the question is, have these attacks and has the Wright controversy hurt Obama in the polls? And the answer seems to be yes. Now, here we have another one of those trendline polls put together by Professor Charles Franklin and hosted at pollster.com. You can see there Barack Obama, for a few months, rapidly gaining on Hillary Clinton, surpasses her a little while back. And as you can see, just over the last few weeks, he's basically flatlined. He's just kind of going in place. And what really seems to have happened, it's not so much that Barack Obama has lost ground as much as Hillary Clinton seems to be picking up undecided voters on the Democratic side. So those are the numbers in the Democratic primary campaign. Now, even more important for both candidates in some ways is how are they stacking up against the person who's now obviously the Republican nominee, John McCain. And here we see that these attacks, these controversies, seem to have hurt Barack Obama, at least to some extent, as well. So here again, this is the Franklin trendline graph of McCain versus Obama. You can see the top line numbers, it's basically a tie. It's McCain 46, Obama 45. But the trend lines are what's clear. Just a few weeks ago, Obama had a big lead over McCain, but he's dipped and McCain has come up. So again, McCain's only 1 point ahead. Statistically, that's barely even significant. But the trend line is what's key. Now, let's look at the trend line for Hillary Clinton versus McCain. Now, the graph actually looks kind of similar, just the candidates reversed. What you can see is for most of this year, McCain has been polling ahead of Hillary Clinton, but she's actually just pulled ahead. And now she's, again, about a point difference. That's basically a tie. But the trend line looks good for Hillary Clinton. So what does this mean? For most of this year, if you were going by the available polling information, there was no question that Barack Obama was a stronger general election candidate against John McCain. Right now, it's basically a wash. They're basically both tied. Hillary's a fraction ahead of McCain. Obama's a fraction back. But again, the trend lines are what's key. Now, where is this going? It's hard to say. Obama has come off what are probably the worst 2 or 3 weeks of his campaign. If this is the nadir for him, it's not so bad. If the trend continues, he's got some problems. Now, the other point to keep in mind is how this plays into the conversations that each campaign is having with the superdelegates. The one big trump card that Obama has had over the last couple months going to these superdelegates is that, again, going by the polls, he's just obviously the stronger general election candidate. For the moment, at least, that does not seem to be clear. So look for the Clinton campaign to be making quite a lot about this. Now let's draw back and look at the big picture. What is this general election campaign going to be about, regardless of who the Democratic nominee ends up being? There's really two issues. One is which candidate is better to navigate the country through what seems to be at least a recession, maybe a prolonged one. The other is an issue that plays heavily to the Democrats' advantage if they can actually grab hold of it. The Iraq War remains extremely unpopular with the American people, and John McCain has made it very clear that he agrees entirely with George Bush's current Iraq strategy. Now, if the Democrats can mobilize around that effectively, that should really be lethal for John McCain. It's true that the Iraq War is no longer the preeminent issue in the campaign as it was in the 2006 election, even through most of 2007. But it's still a very important issue to voters, and John McCain is clearly on the other side of the question from the vast majority of the American people. Now, one problem the Democrats face right now is that they don't yet have a candidate, and that means all the infrastructure of the Democratic Party, the campaign, etc., can't mobilize around one candidate and start taking the fight to John McCain. That's really a liability they have right now. But there are a number of independent groups out there that are loosely affiliated with the Democratic Party, and I would not be surprised if you see in the near future campaign ads running in places like Ohio, Florida, Missouri, states like that, basically making this point. John McCain is 100% committed to continuing all of President Bush's policies in Iraq. He wants to stay in Iraq for decades, even a century to come. Over the weekend and the beginning of next week, we're going to start to see the first polls that will show the reaction to the speech that Barack Obama gave in response to the Jeremiah Wright controversy. So keep a close eye on those. Those will really tell whether this is temporary damage to Obama or whether it's something more sustained and really change the shape of the election contest. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you next week.